If you get hunted often enough, you start confusing the hunter with a stalker. Or something else entirely. That thought flashes through my head as my boots slam against wet concrete and neon streaks past in the corner of my vision. The city is a blur of color and noise, rain hissing on signs, sirens somewhere far off, the hum of air recyclers vibrating through metal fire escapes. My lungs burn, my legs are jelly, but I can't stop. Not with him behind me. I don't see him. I don't have to. He's there. Heavy steps where mine are light, measured where mine are frantic. Not rushing, not wasting breath, like he already knows this will end his way. Show off. I cut into a narrow alley, shoulders brushing damp brick, barely avoiding a pile of old crates. The bracelet on my wrist buzzes once, then dies back to a dull, familiar ache. Scent suppressor, cheap and not government issue but good enough to smear my trail in the air. Being a wild omega is illegal. Being a stupid wild omega is suicidal. I'm not stupid. I vault over a broken railing, fingers slipping for half a second on wet metal, then find my footing and push harder. I know this district. I've slept under those fire escapes, tagged those walls, kissed someone I don't remember under that flickering sign. Up there, roof. If I get high enough I can disappear. I grab the rusted ladder bolted to the wall and haul myself up. Muscles scream protest, but the adrenaline smothers it. The city opens up with every rung, more neon, more darkness, the glow of hollow ads painting my hands green and blue. I pull myself onto the roof, roll and come up running. For a second the world narrows to the slick tar paper under my boots and the gap between this building and the next. The wind smacks me in the face, cold and sharp, carrying the electric tang of ozone and garbage. Behind me, Boots hit the ladder. He's still calm. I can hear it. No curses. No shouted orders. Just steady movement. I don't know his name yet. I know the type though. Government hunter. Tall. Heavy stride. Probably an alpha, because of course they'd send an alpha after a problem like me. Someone who can snap my neck with one hand and write an incident report with the other. I sprint toward the edge of the roof. The next building is half a meter lower and a few meters away. An ugly concrete block with old vent pipes and a dead billboard squatting on top of it. I don't slow down. Running is a kind of religion when you're me. You only really believe in two things: gravity and bad decisions. I jump. For one suspended heartbeat there's nothing beneath me. Just city and rain and the far-off sound of traffic. Then my feet slam onto the edge of the next roof, scraping, sliding, but holding enough for me to stumble forward instead of plummeting down. Idiot. I wheeze at myself, laughing under my breath. I don't turn around. I can't afford to. But something prickles along the back of my neck, a tingle that has nothing to do with the cold. He's closer. I cut left, dodging a metal vent, leap over a duct. My chest burns now, that deep, wet ache that says I'm almost at the limit. The suppressor bracelet bites into my skin, a dull pressure that never quite fades, keeping my scent locked down, muffled, wrong. The kind of wrong that keeps you alive, until it doesn't. The next gap is wider. Of course it is. I skid to a halt at the edge, boots splashing water, roof dropping away into a narrow, trash-choked alley 3 stories below. The opposite building glistens with rain, brick dark and slick. Too far. Cornered, a low voice says behind me. It rumbles through the rain, steady and annoyingly unbothered. I turn slowly. He's a silhouette at first, backlit by neon haze. Tall, broad shoulders, long coat hanging heavy with rain. As he steps closer, the details sharpen. High cheekbones. A straight nose. A jaw that looks like it was carved with a tactical knife. His hair is dark and damp, pushed back, a few strands clinging to his forehead. His eyes. Yeah, those are a problem. Cool, assessing, not cruel but not kind either. Analytical, like he's already dissecting every choice I've made tonight. Alpha, without question. His scent is mostly contained. He's wearing his own regulator, faint metallic tang. In the air, but under that there's something sharp, clean, dangerously grounding. Hunters are taught to be neutral. Efficient. This one looks born to it. End of the line, he says. His voice is low, rough around the edges, like someone sanded it with gravel. Not raised, not threatening. More like a statement of weather. I grin at him. It's automatic. Wired into my survival instinct like a faulty alarm. If you wanted a rooftop date, I say, you could have asked. One dark brow ticks up by a fraction. That's the only sign he heard me. That bracelet you're wearing, he nods toward my wrist, is illegal. You're going to arrest me for bad fashion choices? He doesn't answer. His gaze flicks past me for half a second, taking in the impossible jump. Behind my back, calculating my options, or rather, the lack of them. He doesn't step closer yet. Predators like him know not to spook cornered prey. Prey. Cute. My heart is pounding, but my hands aren't shaking. Adrenaline makes everything sharp, bright, every raindrop, every hum of a distant sign. I'm exhausted, but there's still that little ember of defiance in my chest, the one that never quite goes out. He finally moves, slow and sure, like gravity itself, step by step, closing the distance. Luke, he says, and hearing my name in that voice sends a weird chill down my spine. I don't remember inviting you to use that, I say lightly. I don't need an invitation. Oh, you're that kind of alpha. His eyes narrow just a touch. You've run enough. Don't make me drag you. You could drag me, I agree. But then you'd have to explain the scratches. His gaze drops to my hands, to the faint ink stains on my fingers, the jagged little scars, the calluses. Instead of looking annoyed, he studies them like they're data. He reaches for me. I bolt. It's stupid. It's instinct. It's me. I twist sideways, try to slip past him in the space between his arm and his body. For a split second, I actually think it might work. Then his hand closes around my wrist. Heat. It shoots up my arm, quick and shocking, like I grabbed a live wire. My breath catches. So does his. Something crackles soft in the air, a faint buzz at the edge of hearing. For a heartbeat. We just stare at each other. He's closer now than he should ever be. I can see the tiny scar near his eyebrow, the faint shadow of stubble on his jaw, the way a drop of water clings to his lower lip before sliding down. His eyes aren't so cool up close. There's something burning low in them, banked hard under control. The suppressor on my wrist gives a little stutter. Just a flicker. Just enough for a breath of my real scent to escape. His fingers tighten almost imperceptibly. Got you, says the grip. Got you, says the spark between us. The edge of the roof is right behind my heels. The world tilts as my body remembers gravity. I let myself fall. Not forward, backward. His eyes widen a fraction as my weight drops out from under his hand. For a terrifying moment. There's only air and rain and the bright neon smear of the city below. Then his other hand clamps around my forearm, harder this time, yanking me up short. Pain flares where his fingers dig into my skin, but it's distant under the rush of not dying. I dangle over the alley, wind punching the breath out of me, my legs kicking at nothing. He's braced on his knees at the edge, one hand locked on the roof, the other locked on me. Heavy breathing, his and mine. We stare at each other again, upside down this time. I bare my teeth in a smile that probably looks more like a snarl. You'll regret this, Hunter, I say softly. His lips twitch, just once. They all said that, he answers, voice still annoyingly calm. He hauls me up with one brutal, efficient motion. The world swings, then slams back into place as my chest hits the roof and I roll onto my back, gasping. By the time I manage to sit up, he's already got something in his hand. The band is matte black, heavy, humming faintly with contained energy. A government-grade suppressor. Hold still, he says. Buy me dinner first, I shoot back automatically, but my voice comes out hoarse. He doesn't bother arguing. Large, steady hands catch my wrist again, less rough now but unyielding. And the cold ring of the bracelet snaps into place around my skin. It tightens, biting, and the world narrows for a second. The hum climbs into a sharper pitch, and my senses dim, like someone turned down the volume on me. I suck in a breath through my teeth. The connection I felt a moment ago, that wrong electric awareness, it doesn't disappear. It just settles lower, under the skin, where the bracelet can't quite reach. He watches my face carefully, as if he's measuring the effect. I give him my widest, brightest, most poisonous smile. Enjoy your victory, I say. It's temporary. For the first time, something like curiosity stirs in his eyes. Is that a threat? He asks. No, I say quietly. It's a promise. They don't cuff me this time. Probably because the hunter, Kai, apparently, has decided he doesn't need to. The suppressor bracelet on my wrist hums with quiet authority, a cold reminder that no matter how confident I act, my options are narrowing by the minute. The transport van rattles through the empty streets, metal panels clanging softly with each turn. Harsh white lights strip everything of warmth. Kai sits across from me, one gloved hand resting on his knee, the other loosely holding a tablet he's not actually reading. He keeps pretending to look at the screen, but I catch the way his eyes flick up every few seconds. Studying. Cataloging. Like he's filing me into some mental database of problems to be solved. If he only knew. I stretch my legs out in front of me, like I'm lounging in a cafe, instead of being illegally transported to a registration facility. Comfortable? He asks without looking up. Honestly? I tilt my head. The seats could be softer. Kai doesn't sigh, but he looks like he wants to. There's a tiny twitch at the corner of his jaw. Frustration or restraint, I can't tell. He's too self-contained. Too quiet. Too something. His gloves catch my eye again. Thick tactical material, scarred at the knuckles. Like he's had to break down doors or someone's face more than once. One seam is split, revealing the faintest line of skin beneath. He hasn't replaced them. Someone like him should have pristine gear. I wonder if it bothers him. I wonder why I'm wondering that. So, I say lightly, what's the official protocol for returning strays these days? Do I get a sticker, a treat, a scolding? Kai's eyes lift from the tablet. They're sharp even in the dim light, cold blue, focused. You're not a stray, he says. Oh? Then, what am I? A case? Most people would find that dehumanizing. I find it hilarious. Well, I say, crossing one ankle over the other, I suppose that's better than specimen. Though I'll admit, exceptionally handsome fugitive would work too. He ignores that. The van slows. The world outside becomes darker, quieter, swallowed by deep tunnels and directional lights embedded in concrete walls. We've reached the sublevel. The doors hiss open. Cool air pours in, sterile and heavy with disinfectant. Kai stands and gestures for me to move. I hop out, landing lightly on the metal grate floor. The corridor stretches out ahead. Gray tiles, fluorescent lights, a camera every few meters. Clinical. Efficient. Designed to make anyone feel small. I refuse. I walk as if I own the place. Kai tries not to look at me, but I notice the sideways glances. He keeps his arms stiff at his sides, body closed off like he's expecting me to try something. I don't. Not yet. The intake officer scans my bracelet and nods without meeting my eyes, pointing to a door down the hall. Temporary holding. 60 hours until registration review. 60 hours. They think that's enough to break me. Kai escorts me inside. The room is small. Bare walls, a narrow bed, a single light buzzing overhead. There's a camera in the corner, an event that probably pipes in sedatives if someone gets too rowdy. I step inside like I'm entering a boring motel room. Kai closes the door behind us but doesn't lock it yet. Protocol says he stays until the system verifies that the suppressor is synced and active. He stands there, silent, watching me. I stroll to the wall, drag my fingertips across the cold surface, then squat down and pick up a chunk of charcoal left by whoever held this room before me. Probably tossed aside from an evidence bag, forgotten. Lucky. With an easy motion I start drawing on the wall, sharp lines, curling shapes. A symbol that means nothing to anyone who hasn't lived in my skin. Kai's voice cuts through the room. What are you doing? Interior decorating. You're marking something. Oh, I say, glancing back at him with a grin. So you do know how to observe. His jaw tightens. I keep drawing. Not a picture, not exactly. More like a memory in lines. Concentric circles, branching strokes, something ancient woven into geometry. The symbol of pure spectrum blood. My inheritance. My curse. Kai steps closer. You're very calm for someone about to disappear into the system. Disappear? I laugh softly. You say that like it hasn't happened before. He doesn't like that. His eyes flicker, barely, but enough for me to catch it. Wild omegas rarely survive long, he says finally. You know that. And yet, here I am. That's not what I meant. I know exactly what you meant, I say, sitting back on my heels. You look at me like you want to understand, even though you're supposed to judge. I don't need to understand you, but you're trying, and that. I tap the charcoal to the wall, leaving a sharp dot. That's what scares you. Kai says nothing. He's too still. Too aware. The air shifts. The hairs on my arms rise. My fingers graze the wall again, tracing one of the lines. The overhead light flickers. Once. Twice. Then steadies. Kai's head snaps up. His gaze darts to the suppressor on my wrist. The device gives a faint sputter of static, barely there, a glitch, a warning the system will ignore but he won't. What was that? He asks quietly. I let the charcoal drop from my fingers. Bad wiring, I say innocently. But we both know the truth. His instincts are too good. His sense is too sharp. A hunter like him can tell when the world bends a little too much around someone. When the air hums. When a person shouldn't exist, and yet does. Kai steps back from me, only half a pace, but I feel the weight of it. Something in him is shifting. Calculating. Doubting. And for the first time I wonder if he realizes that catching me was the easy part. Keeping me? That's the mistake he'll regret. Morning comes in the dull, washed-out way it always does underground. Gray light filtered through reinforced glass, too weak to feel real. The intake corridor stretches ahead in sterile lines. Metal detectors. Biometric panels. Guards standing like mannequins with guns. I walk between them silently. Not dragging my feet. Not resisting. Not smirking. Just quiet. And that seems to unsettle Kai more than anything else I've done. He keeps glancing at me from the corner of his eye as we approach the transfer bay, the crease between his brows deeper than usual. He looks like a man waiting for a bomb to go off. Except I'm not doing anything. Not yet. A guard approaches with a tablet. Transfer order approved. He goes to central registry for pre-processing. Kai signs something without looking away from me. I tilt my head, studying him. His uniform is crisp, but the tension at the back of his neck says he barely slept last night. His gloves are the same damaged pair. There's a faint bruise along his jawline that definitely wasn't there yesterday. Probably from the moment he stopped me from falling off a roof. He saved me. And he doesn't know why. The guard gestures toward a second transport pod parked nearby, sleek, polished, government grade. The kind they use for important transfers. Dangerous ones. Kai touches my shoulder lightly, directing me forward. His fingers graze the suppressor bracelet, and for just a heartbeat, it pulses. Like a heartbeat answering a heartbeat. He pulls his hand back quickly. I lower my eyes, playing the part. Silent. Compliant. Almost broken. It works. Kai exhales through his nose, a tight, controlled breath, as if he's bracing himself for disappointment he can't explain. Inside the transport pod, the lighting is softer, tinted blue. No shackles. No hard restraints. Just biometric seals on the doors and walls that hum in a frequency only Omegas can truly hear. Kai stands near the exit panel, arms crossed, gaze fixed somewhere over my head. We sit in silence for almost a minute. Then, I speak. Do you believe, I ask quietly, that the system saves people? He doesn't turn. I believe in order, he says. Order prevents chaos, prevents harm. I stare at his back. Order. Harm. He says the words like they're math equations. I lean back against the seat, letting my voice stay soft, almost thoughtful. The problem is that you believe. And everyone else? I shrug. They use belief like a leash. Kai shifts his weight. I can't tell if it's discomfort or irritation, maybe both. You don't understand how this works, he says. Oh, I murmur. But I understand it too well. He finally looks at me then. Really looks. Eyes narrowed, sharp, like he's searching for cracks in the quiet version of me. And maybe he sees them. Or maybe he sees something worse. I let my gaze fall to the floor, shoulders slightly hunched. A show. A mask. One I know how to wear well enough that even a trained alpha might believe it. Kai watches me a moment longer. Suspicious but uncertain. That's when the suppressor fails. Just a flicker. A tiny spark of static against my wrist. I don't react. But Kai does. His head jerks like someone touched a live wire to the back of his neck. I watch goosebumps ripple up his arm beneath his sleeve. His pupils dilate by a fraction. He felt it. A pheromone wave. Not strong, nothing like the real thing, but enough to carry a cold, crawling whisper across his skin. Enough to make reality blur at the edges. What was that? He demands. I lift my eyes slowly. Bad wiring, I say again. But his heartbeat stutters. He knows it wasn't the wiring. The lights dim for a split second, the way they do when the system reroutes power. But this route wasn't scheduled. I know that because the hum in the walls shifts into a tone I recognize, one that vibrates down my spine. Kai's shoulders tense. The bracelet sputters. Once. Twice. Then, for a single impossible moment, my scent bleeds through. Not the real one, just a ghost of it. Cold metal, ink, ozone. Something sharp enough to cut, soft enough to sink under the skin. Kai inhales by accident. His eyes widen. I tilt my head. Don't breathe too deep, I say softly. Might confuse you. He steps toward me, reflex, instinct. Something half feral and half horrified, as if drawn in despite himself. And that one moment is all I need. The bracelet gives a small electric snap. The pod lurches. Kai blinks. And I'm gone. Not literally, not teleported. But the pod's biometric lock opens at the exact millisecond his focus blurs and the lights stutter. Enough for me to slip through the door as it tries to close, leaving only the cold breath of the corridor behind me. By the time Kai slams the panel and the system screams alert, I'm already in the maze of hallways. Guards shout. Alarms howl. The transport bay floods with red light. Kai stands frozen for a second, actually frozen, hands clenched, chest rising with a sharp, uneven breath. Impossible, he mutters. But it happened. To him. Because of me. His thoughts spiral. I can feel them even from a distance. I'm an alpha. I cannot be deceived like that. I cannot lose track of prey. I cannot be blinded. So why? Why him? And the question that matters most, what is he? As I slip into the service ducts, the corners of my mouth curl upward. He's not ready for the answer. The underground market is alive in a way the city above never is. Too bright, too loud, too crowded, too full of things that shouldn't exist and people who pretend they don't see them. The air smells like frying oil, metal dust, synthetic spice, and the sweat of 10,000 bodies squeezed into aisles barely wide enough for one. Neon signs buzz overhead in every language, selling everything from knockoff regulators to illegal enhancers, to tattoos that glow under blacklight. The crowd moves like a single restless creature, brushing shoulders, bumping hips, pushing forward and back in one chaotic pulse. I slip through it easily. Hunters are trained to spot patterns, to track movement, to isolate a target in noise. So why is it that he, the most conspicuous person I've ever met, blends right into this madness? I catch a faint trace of ink and citrus, his scent buried under the weight of suppressants and cheap perfume, but it's enough. My pulse spikes, my jaw clenches. He's here, somewhere close. I push through a curtain of bead strings and step into the warm glow of a neon pink sign, ink sink. Letters flicker, half burnt out, but the place is unmistakably his style, messy, vibrant, a little unhinged. Inside the studio is a cramped box overflowing with bottles of pigment, coils of spare machine parts, sketchbooks, empty drink cans, and a shelf of glowing resin art pieces shaped like insects. A single metal chair sits in the center under a bright white lamp. And in that chair is a client. And behind the chair is him, Luke, alive, whole, calm, as if he didn't escape a government transport pod by bending the rules of physics 48 hours ago. He's bent over the client's arm, tattoo gun buzzing steadily, black lines blooming across the skin with effortless precision. His hair falls forward, a messy curtain barely held back by a metal clip. His eyes are half-lidded in concentration. He looks peaceful. Of course he notices me first. He always does. He glances up without pausing his work. When our eyes meet, his lips part on a breath, relief, amusement, something dangerously soft. Then he smiles, a smile so infuriatingly warm it hits me like a punch. Well, finally, Luke says, exhaling dramatically. I was starting to think you were mad at me. I blink. Not the reaction I was prepared for. Not even close. The client looks between us nervously. Should I? No need, Luke says lightly, finishing the last stroke and snapping the machine off. He doesn't bite. I narrow my eyes. Luke adds, much? The client scrambles out of the chair and disappears into the crowd. Luke wipes the fresh tattoo, sets his machine down, then leans back against the table with a casual stretch. Hands behind him, legs crossed at the ankles, posture open and painfully, infuriatingly relaxed. It's rude, you know, he says, to stare at someone like you're planning their funeral. You escaped a secured transport pod, I say evenly. I did, he agrees. It was impressive. I'm still proud of myself. You could have been killed. Ah, Kai. Luke tilts his head. You do care. My jaw flexes. He hops off the table with a lazy smile and steps toward me. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel the air shift between us. All right, he says. Let's get this over with. You're surrendering? I ask, suspicious. I'm surrendering, he confirms cheerfully. Make it quick, please. I'm starving, and you look like you've missed at least 3 meals too. I stare at him. I don't trust this. Not the calm. Not the smile. Not the complete lack of fear. He lifts his wrists toward me, as if inviting cuffs that aren't coming. Go on, he says. Take me back. I reach for his arm. Not roughly, not gently, just firmly enough to make it clear he's not slipping away this time. For a moment he lets me. For a moment, I think this chapter is finally closing. Then the world stutters. A single blink. A single breath. And Luke is no longer in my grip. He's 3 steps to the left, leaning against the wall like he teleported, not even out of breath. The neon light flickers over him. The machines hum. The ink bottles vibrate slightly on the shelf. My hand is still in the air. My pulse spikes. That, I say slowly, wasn't running. Luke chuckles. That, he agrees, wasn't running. It was a glitch, he says, tapping his temple. Reality hiccup. Happens sometimes. That's impossible. So was losing me the first time, he reminds me. And the second. And the third. My teeth clench. Luke steps closer again. Slow, deliberate, voice dropping to something low enough to kick under my ribs. I'm not doing it to mock you, Kai. Then why? His expression softens. It's subtle. Barely there. But real. Contact, he says simply. I frown. Explain. You're the only one who sees me coming, Luke murmurs. Everyone else only sees me gone. The words land harder than I want them to. Before I can reply, he tucks something into my hand. His suppressor bracelet, burned out, dead. I look down at it. When I look up, he's gone again. But this time, the air where he stood is warm. Not from running. Not from fear. From something else. And against my better judgment, I feel the first spark of something dangerous. Interest. Not professional. Not tactical. Not even logical. Something far worse. I want to find him again, and he knows it. The new studio is quiet in a way the underground market never is. No shouting vendors, no neon chaos. Just the soft rasp of a pencil against plaster, and the distant hum of traffic, behind a huge front window stained slightly blue by morning light. It's the kind of place where someone might come to breathe. Except Luke is doing the opposite. He's burning himself out. I find him standing in the center of the empty room, paint cans scattered around his feet, sleeves pushed up to the elbows. His skin looks pale, almost translucent against the deep cobalt and gold lines stretching across the wall. The mural is enormous, spanning from floor to ceiling, spirals nested. Inside spirals, sharp angles blooming outward like fractured wings. It's beautiful. But it's killing him. Every stroke seems to cost him something. He presses a hand to the wall, breath trembling, then forces himself to keep going. The suppressor on his wrist sputters now and then, a faint glitch of static crawling across the metal like frost. He doesn't notice me at first, which is how I know something is very wrong. Luke always notices me first. His shoulders rise and fall too sharply. His jaw is set in stubborn concentration. There's a sheen of sweat along his forehead, catching the light. The edges of his eyes look bruised with exhaustion. I step forward quietly. He finishes a long, sweeping stroke, pulls back to admire it, and wavers. Just half a second. A tiny slip. But enough. He sucks in a sharp breath, the kind that sounds more like pain than surprise. His knees buckle. The paintbrush clatters to the floor. I move before I register moving. My hands catch his shoulders as he collapses, guiding him down instead of letting him hit the concrete. His weight is lighter than I expect, too warm against my chest and too cold. At the same time, like someone burning themselves from the inside out. His eyes flicker open, unfocused. Luke, I say, a low growl of worry I don't have time to analyze. What the hell are you doing? His voice comes out as a thin whisper, barely conscious. I had to finish. I can't. He tries lifting a hand toward the mural, like the lines on the wall matter more than the fact he's collapsing. I hold his wrist gently, feeling the heat radiating off his skin. You don't have to finish anything, I say. Sit still. Breathe. But he shakes his head weakly, eyes glassy. They'll find me. Who? You know who? He's slipping. Consciousness drifting in and out. His head lolls forward until his forehead rests against my collarbone. Every muscle in his body trembles. Luke, I can't go back. His voice cracks in a way that makes something inside my chest twist painfully. They'll break me. They'll take everything. Something cold crawls up my spine. I shift, supporting his weight fully now, one arm wrapped around his back. He's shaking. Why? I ask, the question tearing out of me sharper than intended. Why would they break you? Why you? His eyelashes flutter against my neck. He breathes one word, like a confession and a curse. Because I'm not supposed to exist. The air seems to split open, not from sound, from meaning. I hold him closer without thinking, steadying him as his body finally gives out completely. His breath comes shallow, uneven. His pulse races beneath my fingers like a trapped thing. I don't understand what he means, but I understand enough. Whatever he is, whatever the government wants, this isn't about containment. It's about erasure. He's not a criminal. He's a secret. I look around the studio, the mural, the scattered paint cans, the half-finished sketches. The lines he was drawing weren't decorative. They were symbolic, intentional, almost ritualistic. He's been trying to send himself a message, or leave one behind, and I'm the only one here to read it. The suppressor on his wrist flickers again, sparks dancing across the metal. A strain line, overload. Whatever's happening in his biology, the bracelet can't keep up. If I take him to the registry now, they'll see that immediately. And they'll take him from me. The realization hits like a blow to the chest. He needs help. And there's no one left to trust with this except me. Decision hits with the same certainty as grabbing him before he hit the ground. I slide my arms under him and lift him easily. He makes a faint sound. Pain or fear, I can't tell. His head falls against my shoulder, face hidden in the fold of my jacket. I've got you, I murmur. He doesn't respond. The mural looms behind us on the wall, unfinished, bright, defiant. Like him, for the first time since I started this job, I don't follow the rules. I don't call it in. I don't activate the tracker. I carry him out of the studio, and into the early morning light. Because if the system wants him erased, then I need to understand why before anyone else gets to him. And before they take him somewhere I can't reach. The restricted archive sits beneath the main government complex, buried so deep the air feels heavier, older, like the weight of everything stored down here never quite dissipates. The door is thick enough to withstand a bomb. The retinal scanner hums as it verifies access. I shouldn't be here. Not as an active hunter. Not without authorization. Not carrying an unconscious, feverish Omega in the backseat of my stolen patrol car. But Luke won't survive without answers. And answers don't live on the surface. The door clicks open with a sound like a metal sigh. Inside, rows of cold-lit servers hum along a narrow walkway. A single glass-walled office sits at the far end, dust coating the chairs and terminal screens. No one uses this level anymore. No one wants to know the things hidden here. I set Luke carefully on a long padded bench just inside the door. He stirs, too weak to open his eyes, his skin cold and fever hot at the same time. I adjust the jacket around him, then cross to the terminal. The old machine crackles to life with a flicker of blue and white. My credentials are still valid. Most hunters never come down this far. So no one bothered revoking access that was never meant to be used. I type his ID. Luke Arden. Unregistered Omega, tag, Wilder. Status, priority retrieval. Accessing. A loading bar crawls across the screen. Then the file unlocks with a soft chime. What I see isn't a standard Omega profile. It's a classified report, decades old but continually amended, stamped repeatedly with restricted, do not duplicate. The first page is biological analysis, spectrum purity, 98%, Omega variant, genotype class C, pure line carrier, behavioral notes, non-compliant, resistant, high volatility, recommended containment, permanent isolation, breeding viability, extreme. My fingers tighten around the edge of the desk. Pure line carrier, a myth, a rumor, a scientific ghost story they tell trainees. Some omegas aren't meant to bond, some don't suppress, some trigger mutations in alphas. I scroll. The next section hits even harder. Pheromone effects on alpha subjects. Increased aggression. Heightened sensory acuity. Instinct override during exposure. Permanent bond rewiring after repeated contact. Genetic instability in offspring viability. Unknown upper limits. My stomach drops. Another page. Risk assessment. Pure line omegas pose a strategic threat to population control. Their existence destabilizes government breeding models. Immediate retrieval and long-term containment mandatory. Another. Historical record. Most pure line carriers eliminated at birth. Only one case remains undocumented. Only one. Luke. My hands go still on the keyboard. The next page is worse than all the others. Directive 11A. Registering a pure line omega is a euphemism. Subject is not entered into the system. Subject is transferred to Division 7 for extraction. Specimen not returned. My breath turns cold. Extraction. Not registration, not rehabilitation, not reintegration. Extraction means removal. Blood. Tissue. Reproductive capture. A lab. A bed. A table. Luke's quiet confession echoes in my mind. Because I'm not supposed to exist. I stare at the words until my vision blurs around the edges. He wasn't running from arrest. He was running from disappearance, from eradication. And I've been hunting him for them. I exhale sharply, as if the truth punched me right in the ribs. The terminal hums softly, indifferent to the shattering happening inside my chest. I scroll one more time. Projected outcome, if apprehended. Subject will not remain conscious beyond initial transfer period. Memory suppression is optional. Viability for long-term genetic extraction, high. My throat tightens. The screen flickers, the harsh white light reflecting off the metal bands bolted to the wall behind me, the kind used for securing people who can't fight back. I look at Luke lying unconscious just inside the doorway. His breathing is shallow. His skin is too pale. His pulse too fast. And for the first time since I became a hunter, I feel something sharp, immediate, terrifying. Fear. Not for me. For him. Because if they take him, if they get him back, there won't be anything left to save. I turn back to the terminal and close the report with a final trembling click. They didn't want a fugitive contained. They wanted a bloodline harvested. They want his genes, his body, his DNA. They want to use him. Break him. Erase the last one like him. And I help them. The weight of that settles deep into my bones, heavy enough to crush. I move back to him, kneeling on the cold floor. His lashes flutter as if he senses me. His hand twitches weakly against his chest. Luke, I say quietly. I'm sorry. His eyes don't open, but his fingers curl around mine, instinctive, seeking anchor. My voice comes out low, steady, but carved with something raw. You're not going back there. Not now, not ever. The lights hum softly overhead. The terminal screen goes dark, and a decision I can't take back settles into place. Between the system and Luke, I choose him. The warehouse district always looks abandoned, even when it's not. Tonight, it is. Empty streets. Metal doors bolted shut. Rust creeping down fire escapes like old blood. The wind knifes between buildings, carrying the smell of oil, cold concrete, and something faintly electric. Kai picked this place because it's off-grid. No cameras, no patrol drones, no casual traffic. The kind of district you only come to if you're looking for trouble or trying to disappear. Guess which one we are. I sit on a low concrete barrier. Jacket wrapped around me like it's doing more than pretending to be warm. My body still feels wrong. Too hot inside, too cold outside. Like my blood can't decide what temperature to be. Kai stands a few meters away, scanning the street with that focused stillness he wears like armor. He's been like that since we left the archive. Quiet, contained. But not in the same way as before. Something's changed under his skin. The angle of his shoulders. The weight of his gaze. He knows. I don't know what's in the file he read, but I know it was bad. For me. For him. For any version of the world where I get to walk free. I watch him, and something stupid and fragile beats in my chest. Hope. I crush it. Hope gets people like me killed. The moment his back is turned, I move. I slide off the barrier, landing softly. Every ache in my muscles protests, but fear is a better fuel than adrenaline. I head for the shadow between two warehouses, the kind of gap that leads to side streets, side deals, side exits. I'm good at exits. First rule of survival: leave before anyone has time to regret helping you. My steps echo softly. I keep my breathing shallow, focus narrowed down to distance and angles. One more corner, then another. If I make it past the third building, I can climb a fire escape, cut across the roofline, drop onto... Don't. Kai's voice cuts through the dark, close and impossibly calm. I swear under my breath and spin around. He's already there. Of course he is. One long stride, and he closes the last bit of distance between us. I dart sideways, aiming for the spill of shadow near a rusted staircase, but his hand catches my arm. Not harsh, not bruising, just desperate. I yank back. Kai, let go. He moves faster than my temper. In one smooth motion, he turns us and pins me gently but firmly against the cold brick wall. His body blocks the wind, turning the world into concrete at my back and heat in front of me. His breath fogs between us. His eyes are darker than I've ever seen them. Don't run, he says. The weird part? He sounds scared. My laugh comes out sharp, brittle. You really think that's an option for me? Yes. Then you didn't read that file right. His jaw tightens. I read it. Then you know what happens if they catch me? I shove at his chest. He doesn't move. So congratulations, Hunter. You dragged me out of one cage just to be standing in front of another. I'm not taking you back, he says. I freeze. What? He leans in, forearm braced beside my head, shoulder blocking the rest of the alley. There's no threat in his posture, but I've never felt more cornered. I know who you are, Kai says quietly. Each word is deliberate, heavy. And I'm not handing you to them. For a second, I forget how to breathe. My voice drops to a whisper before I can stop it. You... What? I know what they'll do, he continues. I know what registration means for you. Division 7. Extraction. Disappearance. You were right. His eyes flicker with something raw. You're not a case. You're a target. The air tastes like rust and panic. How long? I ask. How long have I known? He exhales slowly. Since the archive. And you still brought me here? I demand. The laugh scraping out of my throat too high. What, thought you'd get a better price if you delivered me personally? His fingers tighten on my arm. Not hard. Just enough to ground me. I brought you here, he says. Because there's nowhere else I can keep you out of their reach right now. I stare at him. The mask cracks. Just a little. You're going to destroy your life for me? I ask. And it comes out more vulnerable than I like. Why? You barely know me. His answer is simple. Because I don't want anyone to ever put you in a cage. That lands like a blow. Not because it's dramatic. Because it's sincere. I search his face for a lie. There isn't one. Just an exhausted, furious, terrifying kind of honesty. You don't even like me, I say weakly. His mouth twitches. That's not true. Oh? I try for a smile and fail. So you do enjoy being publicly humiliated and repeatedly outsmarted. Interesting hobbies. I don't like being outsmarted, he says. I like that you're still alive. Something in my chest twists sharply. This is wrong. He shouldn't say things like that. He shouldn't look at me like that. Like I'm not a mistake the world regrets making. He should let me go. I push again at his chest, more out of instinct than conviction. You can't do this. If you stay with me, they'll destroy you. Your job, your record, your future. My future was written the day I signed with them, he cuts in quietly. Hunt, obey, retire, die. Simple, neat, controlled. And now? His gaze dips to my mouth, then back up. The flicker is quick, but it's there. And now he says, there's you. The words knock the breath right out of me. I swallow hard, throat suddenly dry. You're insane. Probably. You don't even know what I might do to you. I read the same reports you're afraid of, he says. Mutations, rewiring, bond instability. He shrugs slightly. If they're right, you're a threat. If they're wrong, you're a scapegoat. Either way, he says softly. You're still, you. The way he says it makes my skin feel too tight. A distant hum cuts through the air. I stiffen. He hears it too. We both turn our heads toward the main road. Low engine growls. The almost inaudible thrum of powered suspensions. The high insect whine of surveillance drones. They found us. Of course they did. Hunters don't get to vanish without someone noticing. Kai curses under his breath, a quiet word I've never heard from him before. His body shifts, stepping slightly in front of me by reflex. Kai. They'll come for me first, he says. For desertion, interference. Then they'll look for you. Perfect, I snap. So now we're both dead. Congratulations, that cleared things right up. He turns back to me and there's that look again, steady, resolute, terrifyingly calm. We're leaving, he says. We? I repeat. No, you are not burning your entire life for a walking biohazard, thanks. He reaches for my hand. Not my wrist. Not the suppressor. My hand. His fingers wrap around mine, calloused, warm, shaking just enough that I feel it. If you stay with me, I say hoarsely, they'll destroy your life. His eyes hold mine, unwavering. You're already part of my life, he says quietly. They don't get to decide what I do with it. The engines grow louder. Headlights sweep across the far end of the alley, carving harsh lines into the dark. I should run. Leave him. Save him. But he's still holding my hand like he means it. Like I'm not a burden but a choice. And for the first time in a very long time I make one too. Fine, I mutter. But if we die, I'm haunting you. A flicker of almost smile crosses his face. Deal. We run. Not hunter and prey. Not officer and fugitive. Just two people sprinting into the cold, empty dark together. And for the first time I'm not sure which one of us is saving the other. Kai's old training space sits at the edge of the district, half-eaten by rust and time. From the outside it looks like a storage shed that lost a war with the weather. Peeling paint, metal siding warped by heat, a padlock broken long ago. The kind of place kids dare each other to enter on a slow night. Inside it smells like oil, dust, sweat memories that never fully evaporated. The windows are boarded over. A single lamp hangs from a beam, throwing a cone of golden light across a room littered with old mats, dented lockers and a punching bag that's been patched too many times. The quiet is heavy, but not suffocating. Kai locks the door behind us, then slides the bolt on the inside. His silhouette is dark against the doorframe, broad shoulders rising and falling. With the slow breath of someone finally letting instinct take over. You'll be safe here, he says. For the first time, I don't argue. My legs give out before I can pretend otherwise. I sink to the floor, leaning back against the cool wall. The fever that's been simmering beneath my skin spikes again, making my breath hitch. Kai crouches in front of me instantly. Luke? I'm fine, I lie. You fainted, he counters. Dramatically, I correct. I like to make an entrance, or exit. He doesn't smile, but something in his face softens. He sits beside me, not touching, but close enough that I feel his warmth in the cold air of the room. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. The quiet isn't awkward. It's expectant. Eventually, I break it. Do you want to know, I say softly, why I ran so many times? Kai looks at me with that unnerving focus of his, a hunter's attention turned inward. On me, not the threat. I want to know everything you want to tell me, he says. The phrasing catches me off guard. Not ordered. Not demanded. Offered. I draw in a shaky breath. And let myself speak. My family didn't survive the first purge, I say, staring at a crack in the floor. Pure line omegas were supposed to be bred in isolation. Controlled from birth. If you were born outside their system, you and everyone who helped hide you were considered treason. Kai goes still. I continue, voice low and tight. They came when I was 12. I hid under the floorboards while they... My voice cracks, but I force it back together. After that, I ran. Foster home to foster home. System to system. And the moment someone realized what my blood meant, they tried to sell me, or surrender me for a higher stipend. His jaw clenches. It didn't matter where I went. Someone always tried to turn me in. I swallow. Being wild wasn't a rebellion, it was survival, the only way to not be used. His hands curl into fists on his knees. I look at the boarded window, the sliver of moonlight bleeding through a crack. And every time I escaped, they made the leash stronger. I learned to slip cuffs, break scanners, crash suppressors. I lift my wrist where the burnt bracelet still sits, charred black. But every trick worked for shorter and shorter windows. They evolve, I adapt. They evolve again. Kai's voice drops. Luke. And pure line omegas. We don't bend. I give a humorless laugh. Our instincts don't. Our bodies don't. We aren't built for obedience. Our gift, I spit the word like poison, is that our pheromones are too strong for the system to neutralize. Too reactive. Too volatile. His eyes meet mine. Volatile how? Stronger than fear, I murmur. Stronger than pain. I press a hand to my chest. Stronger than the cages they built for us. The room feels thinner suddenly. Like the truth has burned all the oxygen. I lean my head back and close my eyes. And I'm afraid of you, I whisper. That gets his full attention. Of me? Yes. I open my eyes. They meet his. Because I trust you. And that scares me more than anything the government has ever done. Something flickers in his expression, a crack in the unshakable calm. He shifts closer, just slightly, but enough that his knee brushes mine. Warm. Solid. Real. Luke, he says quietly. I'm not here to trap you. I'm here because I made a choice. You needed someone. And I can't walk away from that. I look at him, really look. The man who hunted me. The man who saved me anyway. The man who read the truth and didn't turn me in. He's a contradiction wrapped in another contradiction, delivered straight from a system built to break people exactly like him. And he chose me. My chest hurts from the weight of it. He stands slowly, brushing dust off his hands. My part is done, he says, voice steady but soft. You're safe for now. If you want to leave, the door is open. He nods to it, as if daring himself not to turn around again. I push myself to my feet, shaky but upright. I walk toward the door. Each step feels like it drags something out of me. I stop with my hand on the handle. Feel him behind me. Still, waiting, resolved. Kai, I say quietly. He doesn't move. Yes? I turn around and lean my shoulder to the doorframe. My voice feels raw when it leaves me. I'm tired of running. He exhales softly, like he's been holding that breath for days. Then I add, with a slow smile spreading across my lips. I'm staying. But only on my terms. His brows lift a fraction. And those are? By my will. I step toward him, closing the distance between us. And in your bed. Kai actually laughs. A real one. Warm. Disbelieving. Like the world just tilted under his feet. That's your condition? He asks, amusement tugging at his mouth. It's a very generous one, I counter, poking his chest lightly. But I warn you now. Yes? Don't snore. He gives an offended snort. I don't snore. We'll see, I say, already walking past him into the dim, warm dark of the room. We'll see. The house sits at the far edge of the district, half hidden behind an overgrown fence and a tangle of old trees. It's small, 2 rooms, a crooked porch, a roof that leaks whenever it rains too hard, but it's ours. Or rather, it's Kai's. I just live here, by choice. The mornings are slow now. Quiet. Soft in a way I didn't know life could be. The sunlight filters through curtains we haven't bothered to hem, painting the wooden floor in gold. I sit at the little kitchen table sketching tattoo ideas, while a kettle whistles unevenly on the stove. Across the yard, Kai is on the roof again. Not because it needs fixing, he already did that last week. But because he claims the shingles are not reinforced enough. I know the truth. He just likes being up there, sleeves rolled up, hair a mess. Pretending that hammering nails is a normal part of a normal life. He looks lighter here. Looser. Happy. He catches me watching him through the window, and gives a small wave. I roll my eyes, and wave back with my pencil. Domesticity is ridiculous, I think. I also think I like it. The tattoo shop is a 5-minute walk from the house, tucked between a bakery and a used electronics store. The sign out front reads Ink Haven, by Rune. Rune is me. Or the version I get to be here. Inside, the walls are covered with art, my art. Sharp, bright lines. Murals that no longer drip with fear, but with intention. Clients come and go. Some talk too much, some too little, but none of them look at me like I'm something to be owned. Sometimes Kai sits in the corner while I work, pretending to read a manual on home repair, but actually watching me with that quiet, steady fondness I still haven't gotten used to. He never tells me to stop. Never tells me to hide. And he never stands behind me unless I ask. He's a protector, yes. But never a cage. Nights are the same as mornings. Peaceful, uneven, warm. We cook badly, burn at least one thing, argue about who forgot to buy bread, then end up laughing about it anyway. Sometimes, we fight. Loudly. Sometimes we make up. Loudly. Sometimes we just sit on the porch steps in silence, his shoulder pressed against mine, breathing in air that doesn't smell like fear. I noticed something a few days ago. Something small, stupid, gentle. Kai doesn't react to my scent anymore the way he used to. Not with tension. Not with instinct. He breathes it in like it's familiar. Like it's home. And somehow, without either of us saying a word, the bond between us settled into something steady. Not a chain. Not a leash. Something chosen. Something real. I close the shop one evening and walk toward the house. Kai waits on the porch, hands in his pockets, eyes warm beneath the fading light. When I reach him, he leans down just a fraction, just enough to brush his forehead against mine. Not a claim. A greeting. I smile. Maybe too softly. Never thought I'd get here. Never thought I'd survive long enough to want to stay. I lean into him. And the world finally feels like it stopped running. I used to think freedom meant running, I murmur against his chest. Kai's hand curls at the back of my neck, gentle, grounding. And now? He asks. Now I know the truth. Now it's a place where no one tries to catch you. I pull back enough to meet his eyes. Except one person. His smile is rare, and slow and devastating. And for the first time, the future doesn't look like a threat. It looks like choice.